Hi, I'm Lee Pulaski, the author. I've written a number of books over the years, eager to bring forth the stories of gay protagonists, whether they're on a personal quest or they're just yearning for love. This year, I'm going to be publishing my 20th book, a milestone that I'm totally looking forward to. But in the meantime, I'm looking back at the stories that I've already written. And today I'm eager to share with you my first foray into the supernatural. A Cure for Hunger. A Cure for Hunger takes place in Arizona, which is a contrast with my first novel, which I had set in the North Woods of Wisconsin. Also contrasting with The Colors of Love and Autumn was the fact that my two main protagonists were already in love with each other, and they were just pursuing the next steps of their relationship. My main character is named Benjamin Carpenter. He's a witch descended from a long family line of witches. He has the ability to mix potions and chant incantations, just like any other witch, wizard, warlock, what have you. But he's also born with 3 inherent powers that he can conjure up on his own. First is pyrokinesis, which is basically the ability to produce fire with your hand. Poof. But there's also the ability for astral projection, which you can basically send a copy of yourself somewhere across the land. And he also has the ability to communicate with animals. The interesting part for this book is that I actually created a page that had the family line's various powers. The abilities possessed by Benjamin's parents, his grandparents, his great-grandparents, and even on back to great-great-grandparents. I tapped into some of the shows and the cartoons that I'd seen as a child, and even some novels that I'd read growing up, and it helped me to cement the magical heritage that Benjamin had, which I think made my story even stronger. Benjamin's paramour is Thomas Nighthawk, a vampire. He runs a nightclub that caters to demons and monsters and other creatures of the night, as well as the humans that are willing to cohabitate with them. Unfortunately, his vampiric nature causes some friction in the bedroom, especially when it comes to having sex. When he approaches the point of orgasm, Thomas loses his ability to control his lust for blood, which basically turns romance into terror. Now, the premise of the book is that Benjamin has discovered that a scientist has developed a cure for vampirism, and that means his sweetheart could potentially be able to make love to him without biting his head off, literally. Now, obviously, Benjamin and Thomas, they have to overcome many hurdles in order to find this man, and it turns out that the payoff is not quite what anyone expected. My upbringing included a lot of science fiction, monster movies, and tales of the bizarre. Growing up in a country atmosphere in the 1980s, the 1990s, it was easy to draw parallels of being gay with being an alien or some other strange creature. So I seemed to fit into the category of being unusual, and therefore I could easily come up with a story where the magic, the mysticism, outsiders all came together in a brew that was both entertaining and enticing. In Arizona, there's a community that's known for embracing the stranger side of our world. Sedona is known for its red rocks, but it's also known for people being heavily into crystals and other things that normal folks would designate as weird or unclean. Now, one of the more mystical qualities that Sedona is known for is its vortexes. They're sources of natural energy that have different effects on people. It only made sense to include the vortexes in my story because I have not one but two magical practitioners in my story. Besides Benjamin, I developed a character named Kenda Ravenwood. She's a gypsy that runs a shop in Sedona that has crystals and other things that cater to the supernatural. But Kenda also has a variety of magical powers of her own. Although hers are rather benign compared to Benjamin's. Like, she has healing abilities, that sort of thing. I also felt the need to have just your ordinary Joe in the book. I mean, you have strange creatures, people with magical abilities, that sort of thing. But I wanted to have an ordinary person in the book as a main character as well. That's how I came up with the character of Ivan. He's a comic book store owner, and while he doesn't have any magical or supernatural abilities, he just loves everything that's abnormal. He doesn't have these special abilities, but he does share an unrequited love for Benjamin that occasionally gets him into these perilous situations that Benjamin and the others have to help bail him out of. After parking the Jeep, Benjamin walked into Eclipse, waving to the doorman as he strode past. He looked around the room to try and find Thomas. It was fairly crowded, so it was hard to spot him. Benjamin started up the stairs to the catwalk in the hopes that a higher vantage point would help him locate Thomas. As he scanned the dance floor carefully, he saw plenty of people he knew. Holding court in one corner was Lord Draka, a key figure among the Hessicans, a demon cult that believed humans and demons should coexist, but that demons were still the superior race. Down in the middle of the dance floor were Millicent Weathers and Hank Jonas, a pair of vampires who, like Thomas, tried to avoid killing humans by consuming animal blood. Near the bar was Kit, an androgynous explorer from the Parmelius dimension, who had become quite addicted to this world's preoccupations with dining and dancing. No sign of Thomas, though. Where could he be? Then Benjamin felt a pair of hands touch his shoulders and move up to his neck, massaging it gently. He smiled. "Hello, you twisted, blood-sucking fiend." Benjamin turned around and gazed up into the dazzling green eyes of his lover. Even without the catwalk, Thomas towered over most of his clientele, standing at 6'4". His hair was bleached blonde, tied in a ponytail that ended at his neck. His black suit was accented with a burgundy red shirt and a white tie. "How did you know it was me?" "Because you twisted the head off the last otherworldly creature that tried to make the moves on me, sending a clear message to all the patrons of Eclipse that, although this is a haven for all creatures, human and non, the owner reserves the right to decapitate anyone who gets too close to the man he loves." "It was a Marvek demon. His head grew back in a few hours. Besides, no one could stop laughing as he wandered around the dance floor and kept running into the walls. No one can ever accuse you of copying any other nightclub style of entertainment. Then again, not many clubs accept demons as paying customers." Thomas chuckled a deep, impish chuckle. "I'm always glad to see you, my sweet man, but I thought you were going to be hip-deep in photo proofs and herb research tonight. What brings you down here?" "I was, but I haven't found a possible lead to the..." Benjamin paused and glanced around. "To the you-know-what." Thomas motioned for Benjamin to go back down the stairs where his office was. Benjamin nodded and led the way to the office. Thomas closed the door and locked the deadbolt. "How sure is he?" Thomas asked. "I haven't heard it from a vampire named Turlock. Have you ever heard of this guy?" "It doesn't ring a bell. Then again, it's not like there's a vampire yellow pages. Is this vamp a local?" "He's from Phoenix. Supposedly some scientists from Tucson have stumbled onto something." Thomas sighed. "Damn." "What? What's wrong?" "A scientist, Benjamin? Why would a scientist even be looking for a cure for vampirism? Much less actually find one. Scientists don't even have a consensus on whether we exist, even though you have the evidence sleeping next to you each night." I know it sounds like a long shot, but we don't even know for sure that this guy is a scientist. Present company excluded, vampires aren't the most detail-oriented creatures around. Besides, why would Turlock even bring this up to some guy he barely knows? For all we know, the guy who developed the cure is an alchemist. Baby, you know I love you and your incurable optimism, but this sounds like somebody's idea of bad gossip. Benjamin turned toward the door. I'm sorry to have bothered you. Before he could undo the deadbolt, he was pulled back into Thomas's muscular arms. A hand reached inside Benjamin's shirt and played with his left nipple. A moan escaped Benjamin's lips. You never bother me, Benjamin. Never. I know you're trying to help, and I would love nothing more than to be as mortal as you. But I need proof before I believe this latest cure tale. I've been led down the garden path one too many times to take this story at face value. If it turns out to be true, then everything we've ever wanted will come to be. Regardless of that, I love you, Benjamin Carpenter. Whether I'm a vampire or a human, I will always love you. Now, most fantasy and science fiction writers like to create whole new worlds for their supernatural characters to inhabit. But I wasn't quite ready to do that, as I was still fairly new and inexperienced in the world of novel writing. I mean, I'd written The Colors of Love and Autumn, but obviously this was something different. That's why it made sense to set my book in Sedona and some other places in Arizona, taking places that I've known and just twisting them ever so slightly to make for a more interesting tale. Now, when I started writing A Cure for Hunger, I fully intended for this to be a standalone book, just a one-off. But in the process of writing the book and doing research, I came across some otherworldly creatures, and I just got the idea, you know what, I want to write about these things too. So A Cure for Hunger turned into a trilogy, and that allowed me to further develop these characters that I crafted in my mind and just make them fuller and more engrossing. If you want to get your copy of A Cure for Hunger, then go to my website, www.leepulaski.com. And if you like this video, like it, subscribe to my page, ring a bell, that sort of thing, just to let me know you're interested in it. Look forward to telling you more about some of the other books that I've written, and I'll see you again soon.